Thanks, Simon, for joining, especially early in the morning.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Isaac. Thanks.
What would you say are the top 3 trends for businesses, especially in that middle market, coming into 2019?
The clients that we're dealing with all the time, they're pretty clear around certainly the first couple. How do they develop new products and solutions for their clients, and in particular, how do they digitalise? Where are they using innovation to develop new digital products and services? And that's really number one. The second, which is definitely connected with that, is this concept of customer and everything focusing on the customer.
Yep.
How do we understand the customer and how do we meet that customer's needs? And indeed, if you really want to be red hot, how do you anticipate those needs and actually, get ahead? And then the third is just how do we make technology work, both in terms of customer-facing solutions, which really goes back to that innovation and developing new products and services, but even just how does business get efficiencies out of technology that's available.
And I think when we think about the perception of where the customer used to sit, would you think it's accurate to say that they've really shifted up to the top?
There has been a real shift towards let's understand who's out there and how do we meet their needs. Yes, you might be based in Sydney, but you've actually got a global customer base because of the ability to deliver what you're doing digitally.
I think it's really interesting, though, that you touched on execution. And this is something I remember from a speaker a long time ago when they said, don't be an ideas person. Be a person that executes. What are some of the misconceptions that are out there around how to actually effectively develop and then execute on that digital strategy?
The main one still tends to be they will start with themselves without actually looking out and getting that customer lens and trying to imagine what should we be really looking like in 2025 or 2030.
What is the legacy you want to create as a business for all the customers that are out there?
This is where private businesses have such an advantage. They can actually take a longer term view. I mean, they've got to get all of their stakeholders aligned because you're not faced with some of the pressures that the listed or the public companies have got about needing to keep up particular profitability around different segments for each time they're reporting to market.
There's still fear of pulling in less revenue. How do you think businesses can push through that fear and adopt that agile, forward-thinking mindset?
It's through properly examining that future that they would like and setting that broader strategic course and saying, that's what I want to do. And that's actually why I love working with private businesses, because you can truly see the passion coming through.
And I think, as you were saying before, technology plays a huge part in that, in the modern age and how quickly we're moving. But over the next 10 years, we're going to have the equivalent level of innovation of the last 100. What are some of the benefits that you've seen with the organisations that you work with when they have adopted an effective technology strategy?
It's interesting the use of the term benefits, because I think it's actually fundamental. I mean, it's why do we breathe as humans? There's a benefit there, but it's absolutely fundamental to what we do. They get so much better information and understanding of their business. They can adapt themselves because the quality of the information that they might be getting, or the quality of the feedback they're getting from their customers, or the way in which they're working with their suppliers. Technology will make all of that so much more efficient and allow so much better decision making, which will then turbocharge the business. It will absolutely assist with cost management. It will absolutely assist with employee engagement. The ability just to run the business, to be closer to what's going on and make more informed decisions is really what you get from technology.
So it's really having that clarity about what's going on to make the right decision at the right time.
Clarity and immediacy.
Yeah.
It's when you get your strategy right, you can get the data you need basically at any time.
Having a data strategy as an organisation, how important should that be to a business?
It's fundamental for every business to have a digital strategy. It doesn't mean they have to turn everything upside down, but it's something that they need to be doing and getting absolutely directly involved in. And again, it's a whole of business issue. It's not like, oh, I'll get the IT guy to have a bit of a think about that, or I need to hire this sort of person. Digital strategy is really whole of business strategy, I would say, these days.
Let's turn it the other way. You're a business and you're not going down this path. What are some of the risks of not making this change?
Certainly in the medium to longer term, it is you won't exist. Your margins will be suffering, you won't have that product innovation that we were talking about earlier, and you're not getting the pleasure out of what you're doing, and you'll be left behind. Yes, there's that fear factor of sort of how do you go about it. There's the famous Steve Jobs quote when he's come back from Xerox and he's seen the graphic interface and says, right, we've got to blow up Apple because if we don't do it, someone else will. Whether or not you end up having to go there is a different question, but I think people need to think pretty dramatically, or at least set some time aside to think pretty dramatically to say, what would it look like if indeed we blew it all up?
To go back to the Steve Jobs quote, everyone else will, or someone else will do it. And if they have that agility to embrace technology at a rapid pace, you know, what do we do? What do we need to think about? How do we execute on it? What should we be considering?
They've definitely got to start with whole of business. You need to have a look at all of your inputs. You won't then try and change all of those at once. You know, you've got to pick your areas, working through methodically how it will all work and how you can maintain momentum. How do you stop them getting overly concerned and distracted? Or how do you prevent them from getting burnt out with, oh my God, here's more change?
You have to think about what are the consequences if I do everything at once.
We absolutely see businesses underdo the people side.
Another one that I know is on the front of everyone's mind, security. When we talk about technology, it's impossible not to mention the cloud.
There's now a far broader acceptance that in fact the cloud environment is a lot more secure than a redundant or about to be redundant internal IT infrastructure. There's still the questions that need to be asked about how do you transition properly. You still need to question and have in place the right procedures, policy and additional technologies to make sure that you've got all of your security and privacy issues covered off. But as I said, the conversation's now more about, well, how do we do that? Not, are we going to do it?
Well, look, Simon, it's been an absolute pleasure talking this morning. I can say myself, I've actually learned quite a lot from this conversation, so I really appreciate it.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, Isaac. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much.